Before we get to the video clip, Noam Chomsky and Geoffrey Hinton represent two prominent figures in the field of linguistics and artificial intelligence, respectively, and their viewpoints on language have often diverged. Chomsky is famous for his theory of universal grammar, which posits that humans are born with an innate knowledge of the principles that underlie all human languages. He argues that the structure of language is deeply ingrained in the human mind and is not solely acquired through experience. Chomsky's work has had a significant influence on linguistics, cognitive science, and psychology. On the other hand, Geoffrey Hinton is a computer scientist and one of the pioneers of deep learning, a subfield of artificial intelligence inspired by the structure and function of the human brain. Hinton's work has led to breakthroughs in various AI applications, including speech recognition and natural language processing. Now off to the clip, and following some explanation on the disagreement.
And I think these large language models have put an end to that. Not in Chomsky's mind, but in more or less everybody else's mind.
Yeah, just to follow up on that and also just mention about AI for neuroscience as well. Well, for what it's worth, Jeff, I've always thought Chomsky was completely wrong from my undergraduate days.
There's something I forgot to mention when I was talking about AI for neuroscience. I think it's made one huge contribution in neuroscience in the last few years, which I think is it's given us a much better understanding of the nature of language in the brain. So there's this crazy guy at MIT called Chomsky, who has been claiming it's all innate. We know now that doesn't have to be the case. And Chomsky's whole view of language is kind of crazy when you look back on it, because language is about conveying meaning. It's about conveying stuff. And Chomsky kind of ignored that aspect of it. It's as if you wanted to understand what a car is, and for all of us, understanding a car would mean a large part of it would be understanding how the engine works that makes it go. But you can imagine someone saying, no, the thing about cars is to understand why it is you get three-wheel cars and four-wheel cars, but you never get a five-wheel car. And that's what we need to understand about cars. And that seems to me like Chomsky's theory of language. He wanted to understand why certain syntactic constructions aren't possible. And as far as I can see, he did everything he could to avoid the basic issue of how does language mean. And I think these large language models have put an end to that. Not in Chomsky's mind, but in more or less everybody else's mind.
Yeah, just to follow up on that and also just mention about AI for neuroscience as well. Well, for what it's worth, Jeff, I've always thought Chomsky was completely wrong from my undergraduate days. I think sent natural language processing down the wrong route for a long time. But maybe that's for another day, that discussion. But AI for neuroscience, I forgot to add that part. Like, I think maybe that's what should happen now is we have all these amazing AI techniques, and I know many people at MIT are doing this. Let's apply it across the board to, analyzing, decoding brain states, all sorts of things we used to do 10, 15 years ago. But obviously we have much, much better AI tools now.
The disagreement between Chomsky and Hinton primarily revolves around the nature of language and how it should be understood and modeled. Chomsky's emphasis on the innateness of language and existence of universal grammar contrasts with Hinton's more empirical approach, which focuses on statistical learning algorithms and neural networks to model language processing. Chomsky has criticized approaches like Hinton's, arguing that they lack explanatory power and do not address fundamental questions about the nature of language. He contends that while statistical methods may be useful for certain tasks, they do not provide insights into the underlying cognitive mechanisms involved in language acquisition and comprehension. In contrast, Hinton and others in the field of artificial intelligence tend to view language as a complex system that can be effectively modeled using computational techniques, without necessarily requiring innate linguistic structures. They argue that deep learning algorithms, trained on large amounts of data, can achieve impressive results in tasks such as language translation and understanding, even if they do not conform to Chomsky's theoretical framework. Overall, the disagreement between Chomsky and Hinton reflects broader debates within linguistics and artificial intelligence about the nature of language, the role of innate structures versus learning mechanism, and the appropriate methods for studying and modeling linguistic phenomena. Well, I hope you liked the video and give the channel a subscribe. If you wish, you can join the channel as a member, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you would check out and subscribe to my other channel, Progressive Movement, link in the homepage and in the comments section. Now, take care and bye-bye.